Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to a Wolfram language design review about graphics. I am in a totally exotic location, so if some bizarre noises happen, well, it's because I was in an exotic location. Okay, let's get to work here. Why is the Z label not rotated here as here? Okay, so
I mean,
this,
the short answer is that Graphics 3D doesn't have a rotate labels option.
okay, but
Um,
it should have. Why wouldn't
uh,
it have?
well,
Plot 3D doesn't have a rotate labels option, but what is this up here that does have a rotate labels option?
no, I think you did a rotate around the label there.
I see. Okay, but what has a rotate label option? Plot
Rotate
has a
label
rotate.
is a graphics option. Um,
Okay, so why doesn't it get inherited by the plot functions? Oh, it does, but by an ordinary plot. Is that correct? If I just
correct.
Right.
say plot
If
sine
if
Right,
the
right.
x,
2D,
if
yeah.
the plot generates 2D graphics, not graphics 3D, yes.
I understand. So that here, if I say axis label arrow automatic,
It'll be a frame thing because rotate label only applies to the frame label.
by the way, why was the autocomplete for frame label starting with none? I don't think that's what one wants because none is the default. So
What
that's
were the
just a
other ones
bug
there,
in.
real quick?
I can try it again. Oh, this is now different again.
Yeah,
It
that's
came up as,
what you're seeing now is what I'm seeing. I wasn't looking the first time.
well, it said none, the first thing. Okay. So if I say rotate label arrow true,
Which is the default.
there's no
Do,
fitting
do an
labels here.
actual string label.
Bottom left. Okay. Is rotate label the default?
Yes.
Then why the heck isn't it for plot 3D? Doesn't make any sense to me.
Because
So,
it's not an option at all in 3D at the moment.
Okay, but that's what I'm suggesting.
And the question, I mean, it raises a few questions. I mean, I don't know that any of them are difficult to implement. But, so for example, in that plot 3D that you have at the top of your window,
Yep.
that
Yep.
has, three axes labels on it.
Yep.
So you're thinking about like the Z label getting rotated to be parallel to that axis.
Yep.
Do you also want the X and Y labels to be rotated to be parallel to their axes?
I think it will be very nice.
Maybe that's a different name rather than rotate. Maybe it's just aligned labels or something.
Or
Yes.
it's a different setting, like an automatic instead of a true or something.
Right.
Um,
Because if you pick up that 3D plot and rotate it, things are going to flop around, right? So
yeah, well, they do flop around in this. They already flop around. Like which
and
axis
there's
is,
more flopping around when you let the mouse button go.
right, because it doesn't actually move them until you finish rotation.
Yeah.
right. Okay, well, anyway, I don't think this is the highest priority thing in the world, but I think it would be nice to have a thing, align labels or something.
Okay. I mean, like I said, I don't think it'll be a difficult thing for for somebody to implement. It was just we had some questions about
Yeah, okay.
what
All
the
right.
behaviors were that you actually
We're
wanted.
there. Okay, sounds good. Point value plot.
Okay, so this is you've sent a few handful of emails about point value
Well,
plot.
first of all, I
This is a
couldn't
collection
find
of
point
them.
value plot anywhere in our documentation, which was a pretty big downer, but that's going to get fixed, right?
Yep, that's going to get fixed.
it was developed in connection with spatial statistics.
Okay, great. I don't care. I mean, if it's going to be useful, it's got to be properly laid.
Absolutely. But I'm just saying that's where, the guide, where it was in guide pages.
Yeah, I know, but I couldn't find it at all. It wasn't linked from anything. It wasn't, okay, we're going to fix that.
Yep.
All right, so now to make it generally useful. So for example, what did you do here? Is this an epilogue?
That's that's a screenshot you sent me.
Okay, of something I want to be able to do.
That was something you were doing, and the labels weren't resizing for some reason. I don't know what that reason is. Because you had labeling size set there, and that should be the option, as demonstrated by the, 2 examples I provided above that, where
Well, so what was I doing here? I was doing, oh, I see. That's a point value plot and a graphics there.
right when you're doing a show,
Okay,
that shouldn't
so I
really
have
affect
the
anything.
crazy name, bubble sizes. Is that supposed to be the size of the individual
No.
graphics? What is bubble sizes?
So if you bring up the, imperfect documentation for point value plots.
You're learning. You fronted the fact that it was imperfect rather than having me have to just find
when
it.
I was looking at it, after you had commented on it, it offended me that there was no text after the options table. But so what happens with point value plot is it has a lot of capability in it. And depending on what the data looks like and how you call it, it may under the hood essentially be list plot, it may be bubble chart, it may be geo list plot or geo bubble chart.
Okay, I've got a basic question. Is its name reasonable for its use outside of its very small siloed area?
I think the name is reasonable.
We've started doing more like graph value plot and other things. And we're probably going to have some geometric stuff that's like that too.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Right. I mean, so it's like, how do I show values, some set of values at a point? And, how it behaves depends on if your values are strings, if they're numbers, if they're colors, if it's a combination of things. And so
Okay, I do think that we might as well, if we're doing this, we might as well have a joined arrow true option to do the thing that I was doing. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I mean, actually, if you scroll down,
Maybe it is already there. No.
no, it
not.
isn't. I mean, it probably actually isn't. It's just missing from the table, but But anyway, in the case where, I mean, so like that first example there, by default, you have a set of points and you have a set of numbers, and it's using colors to, to indicate what the numbers are.
Okay.
Right. So you gave a color, it used the color. By default, if you give a number, it's also using a color. But you can instead say that you want that number to be encoded by size.
Okay, how do I do that?
Second argument, string size.
Why is there no autocomplete?
I'm not sure.
That seems like a stupid bug.
Right. So in this case, this is where
But
bubble
I hope somebody
size
noted that bug
option
so it gets fixed.
comes into
fact
play.
that
I'm taking a look at it right now.
Okay. So this documentation just needs strip it down, redo it, because I'm not seeing the thing where you just give the, well, enc is very obscure.
And one of my questions is, do you have a preferred, variable name for whatever that visual encoding is?
I don't know, quote spec or something for specification, but I would show it
Okay.
as the string version and then other versions and so on, so that people have a fighting chance of understanding from that.
Okay.
What the heck is going on? Well, here they
Right.
come down here.
Also, I would probably do it very early because that's one of the first things you want to change.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
It's
okay,
this,
fine.
this is bad documentation.
Well,
okay?
no, I mean, so Roger,
Just
I mean,
fix
you know,
it.
basically everything above it are things that pertain to the first argument.
I realize that, but
so
I'm just thinking of what you want to change, and
Right.
that's going to be it.
Right.
So making it clearer in the usage messages, what's going on will be the right thing. Okay, let's come down to the question of the size.
By the way, the missing completion was just a missing metadata tag in the documentation. So I am in the process of fixing it right now.
Cool. Thank you,
Okay.
John.
Okay, so here, we've got those things. Okay, now how do I change the size of the
So that will be
changes?
labeling size.
Okay. That seems to work. Now, why is it not working here? Well, maybe I never tried labeling size. Maybe
No,
I tried
you have
17
labeling
other.
sizes right there next to bubble sizes in your thing, and I think I even tried it with both of them next to each other, and it was still working. So it's one of those things where your
Well, you need
machines
to try.
occasionally behave oddly.
Yeah, not convincing.
Well, I mean, I
Look,
guess all of our
this
machines
had
do
an
it
image
now and
size.
again.
Right,
But
this has an image size. So let's take a look at what happens when those things there. Oh, this is not what I want. What I want here is pie chart. Okay. Now what I want to do is say image size, arrow 20. And then the labeling size overrode the image size.
Yep.
Somehow.
Exactly.
Well, I don't understand what's going on then. Let's just try.
I think you need an extra level of, yeah. Well, I mean, your random real only is a list, not a matrix.
Well, I don't know what's going on. Okay. I don't know. I mean, we should try rerunning the actual specific input that I gave before. Try assuming that I can recover it. Yeah. I don't know that I'll be able to do this. Well, doesn't work perfectly.
You've got a
Yeah.
slash E instead of a slash at in the first line. Or second line, I mean, but
I don't know. So this just do this example. Figure out, you'll be able to get this example. I'm
Yep.
sorry, I can't do it instantly. Why don't you run it? Why don't you see if you can recover it and then send it in chat? Sandra on the live stream is saying ternary list plot does not rotate. Why not? There is a frame. That seems like another missing piece, right? Then it probably should rotate by default, as plot does. That makes sense?
right. I mean, it'd be, a weird angle rotation, but yes.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's
Okay, let's move on. Okay. Now, do we have proposals for this?
these are possibilities. For indicating where things go
No,
out of range for a few
no,
different types of
no,
plots.
absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You cannot have something that looks like the points. Absolutely not. We talked about this. I mean, got to be a little arrow or something like that. It cannot look like it's an actual point there. Am I making sense?
I mean, all three of those are different from the points. You
I
know,
don't care. They look like points.
What problem are you trying to solve?
he wants indicating
These are out
where
of
there are
range.
points outside of the plot range.
Right. So they need to have little things with tails on them.
So somewhere out, so they point to something being outside there, is that what you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh, okay, okay.
Look, there's like multiple
Yeah,
things wrong here.
Yeah, now they're just triangles. So yeah, I can put tails on them.
Is there, are they trying? Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're triangles.
Well, that's not so bad. I just didn't see that.
Yeah, with tails on them, it probably might be a little better. But it was just in the other
Also,
cases, I was using
for
triangles.
goodness sake, have them outside the range, for goodness sake. Don't have them within the scale that's already there. Right? They've got to be outside. Now, it's tricky, but they've got to be outside,
outside the frame.
I would think outside the frame. What do you guys think? I think they need to be outside the frame.
Think we could try?
I think it's doable.
It makes sense.
Okay, this
It
is a lot
might look
better
very
now.
cluttery. I think we should try.
Now, we're going to need them colored slightly for the points because there could be multiple data sets and one of them goes outside and another does not.
Right. I mean, and so that's what I mean. There's, there were three things there. One was just straight up the color of the points. One is gray, and I think the middle one was sort of in between.
I think I prefer the lighter point color.
So the middle one that.
That middle one. But we need something that's kind of more like a point. How do we indicate a point? I mean, it's almost like we need a tadpole that's the point with an arrow above it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because we're trying to say this point is shifted to outside the range.
I mean, it's almost like some kind of debug information. And so how much attention do you want to call to it?
Not that much. Most of the time it's irrelevant. I mean, most of the time it's like, it's out of range, who cares? But it's just like, I want to know that there's something there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think if it's outside the frame, it's very clear what's going on. Even these untailed guys would be okay if they're outside the frame.
We better put some tooltip on them because I would be totally confused.
Yes.
Like what it means. It's like
we could.
And yeah,
put a tooltip on them.
All right. So Tim or anybody else here, what iconographically would we want to do to show something that is out of range? And so I'm asking, it's a point. We know it's a point of that general type. Well, let's take a look at what you've done for these curves.
Yep. See, these work a lot different.
Well, we already had a clip fill there, right?
We already had clipping style. And so this is.
Does that work for curves? Does clipping style work for curves?
Yes.
Yeah, we made that in 6.
So if I say plot sin x, x0, 10, plot range, arrow minus 0.7 to 0.7, clipping style goes to red. Oh, look at that. So it's a question of what the default clipping style should be.
I think it's a dashed line right now. The same
No.
color as the
I
curve.
mean,
No, no,
if you
no,
say
no, no.
automatic,
Well, okay, automatic there, but what about?
I don't remember
Oh,
if
no.
it's gray or if it's blue.
There.
Okay, well that looks fine. But I mean, the
And that's-
default. Okay, the point is with a curve, it doesn't really matter unless the whole curve is out of range. You can see that it went out of range here. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
The problem is the point that which you do not see, you do not see type thing. Now, if the whole curve was out of range, it'd be a different story. And what happens if I do that? If I
That's an
say plot
interesting
range,
question.
Probably nothing. Pretty sure nothing. See.
nothing, it's just gone.
Well,
Vanished.
actually, can you set frame goes to true?
I can't see anything there. If there is something, there may be something there.
I see a
Sorry,
dotted
there-
line.
There's a dotted line along that frame edge.
Yes. Okay, well, that's
Um,
cool. I never used this.
I'm impressed that it drew the whole dotted line. I was expecting it to just not draw anything, but I'm not sure that's a case I'd ever tried.
Yeah, well, okay. So for curves, we probably don't have anything to do.
Okay,
And we have
And,
similar
and
things.
likewise,
Yeah, surfaces.
right.
right. So now the real question is with points, is there anything that we can do? And I have to say, I'm more inclined to just have a small vertical bar for points that are out of range.
Just
Like
a
it's
little
it's
tick type thing.
yeah, it's a little ticky type thing. That could even be, I think I've done this in graphics that I've made where things have gone out of range. And I put kind of a tick on the frame to indicate it.
Mhm.
I think this is what we should try. In the same color as the points, but just a little tick mark. Because it's kind of like, what the hell are those ticks? Well, maybe we have a tooltip that says what they are, but at least it's an indicator. There's something there. Like,
Mhm.
where is my data? All those things which were, measurements of the lifetime of a turtle or something. They're off scale, but we didn't even know there were that many turtles there. Get what I'm saying?
Right.
Oh, those
It's
turtles lived for
censored
100
data
years.
that you want to know about.
Yes. Yes. Standard is suggesting outlier style arrow, negated, grade, red, faded. Yeah, I mean, I think we do need a specification for a style for those things.
I mean, I think
It's
I think
really
it should just
clipping
be clipping
style.
style.
Yeah, I think so too.
I mean, that's
But it may have
we've
a
got
name.
it. That's what it does. In the other cases,
Right, but the clipping style is like red or something, whereas in this case it could be a different iconography.
oh,
the clipping
I
style,
see.
it's
You want like control over the marker.
yes, but that's okay. I mean, clipping style could have some marker. I'm not sure quite how to do that. Maybe some named marker with some style on it. I'm not sure how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Clipping marker. We could have a clipping marker option. That makes sense. Which we could also support in the other cases, just wouldn't do
Right.
very
I mean,
much.
Tim had been looking at like, adding the tick or arrow or whatever to the clipped curve in the curve case.
Okay.
Right. I mean, so if you look at those, they all have some little thing somewhere along the line that,
Yeah, I get it.
in this case is actually like,
Yeah,
where
right.
the maximum
but I
is
mean-
in that direction or something.
Right. So the issue is to generalize clipping style to have a graphics primitive. which we haven't generally done. So, it might be that there's a clipping marker
Mhm.
that's needed. All right, so I think we've got a reasonable direction there. Should we go on?
Sure. So I was thinking about this
Horizontal.
sum. I have no idea about implementation
What
yet.
is the horizontal spilling? Oh, I know. Yeah, I see. So we have a curve. So for example, let's say we have a parametric plot. And we say,
I mean, that case probably isn't going to be interesting, but
well,
maybe.
how do we do
But-
the filling? I mean, if I say here,
What do you mean?
filling,
Well,
I
I
think
mean,
that-
parametric plot doesn't take filling in the first place, right?
No.
It doesn't even do vertical
No.
because
And it's the topological. I mean, there was topological problems. Like, what do you mean?
I don't know.
right. I mean,
Okay,
parametric
so
plot,
this
you
is a
just,
silly
if you
case.
want filling, you say what it is via the second parameter and, construct it. I mean,
Yes.
so
Okay,
this
so what
is,
is the case that
horizontal
you are
filling we've been
imagining?
looking at, from a list plot perspective.
Right.
All of these other things are function surfaces, function curves, function surfaces.
Okay, so now what would it mean to say filling arrow left?
So filling arrow left would presumably be most useful in a case where you can, reasonably think of your curve or points. I mean, points is easy, but that your curve is something that is
Oh, I see. I
y is
mostly
a
wanted
function
this
of
for
x.
points.
I mean, x is a function of y instead of y is a function of x.
Right, but that's hard to do in this case because but I mean for points, it's pretty easy to see what we mean.
Yes.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, points is not a problem. I mean, it might not look good. I
Well,
mean,
I think you should be allowed to have stalks in both directions. But the
funny
basic
thing
stalks.
is we have highlighting things that does that.
Right, right. But other ways of doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, look,
the
filling
highlighting
arrow
approach is
left.
very verbose to do
Look,
that.
Filling arrow left seems very reasonable to me. Filling arrow left, filling arrow right seems very reasonable to me. Does
long as
filling
you
arrow
don't-
top work?
As long as you don't have
Yes.
joined. If you have joined, you run into the same problem as in parametric plot.
Well, maybe it's just
Well,
an error.
but I mean, you run into weird cases with, you can do list plot of x y pairs
Yeah, that's what I meant.
and say filling, and it'll be
No, but-
completely weird.
Yes.
Oh, it won't be
Um,
that weird. It won't be that weird. It'll just look
Of
like
course
this.
it will be. It's a parametric curve.
Look, Roger, you can have a drop line effectively to anything.
Yes,
That's
for
all
points.
this is doing.
For points,
Yes. Yeah, for
But
curves,
so
I think all
join
bets
true,
are off.
it's
Look, I think the join case is silly because I think
Yes.
that by the time it's not single valued as a function of that, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Right.
I don't think we have to support it. And I think we can just generate a message that says doesn't make sense.
Okay.
But I think the important thing is the left-right one for this case. This is useful.
hmm
I'm glad top works. I mean, I assume left doesn't work.
I'm be very surprised if it did. I don't know if I actually tried.
No. So that just should work. And then we're done.
And then I think you were also saying or implying that you want the list left comma bottom to work.
I think it'll be nice.
What is that?
To
fill to
have
both,
lines to connect to
Oh,
both.
both. I see.
right? I mean, yeah.
It's an exotic case. I think the case that is of most interest is kind of, the this case. Put in some direction. Right?
Right.
Okay. What's next?
Let's see. A few things that, so this was incomplete documentation, and something was still futurized that was hiding the syntax
Oh yeah,
for
this speed thing. I assume you fixed this.
working on it earlier this afternoon and last week, and I mean, just because testing out cases of integer, real, perfect
Right.
arrays, ragged stuff, what
Listen, I'm not
actually is
loving
fastest
the
in each of those
right.
cases.
So did we fix the grid, the mesh for array plot, which was
We updated the mesh style for array plots.
oh, by the way, Ian on the live stream says horizontal filling is required when using list line plot with depth data.
With
Do we
depth
understand that?
data.
Well, the fact is, okay, if the thing was single valued,
Right.
have I
If you
seen
have
this?
something that could
It's
be,
monotonic, right? If it's monotonic,
I mean, it doesn't even need to be monotonic, right? It just needs to be, it needs to pass the horizontal line test instead of the vertical line
okay. So
test.
in this case, right here, this is effectively filled. Okay, so if I say, I mean, this particular case, I just say build to top, and it will do that.
That's
Or monotone, yeah, that works. But
Yeah.
as Brett says, it doesn't. As
right.
long as it
If you do
doesn't.
list line plot of table sign of x comma x, x goes from whatever to whatever.
What the heck is that
Whoa!
about? What did the filling do?
How did it? What? I have no idea. I'm speechless. He says. What does bottom do?
What?
What indeed? Well, this did something quite lovely.
Yes. I mean, confusingly, but yes.
That's really
I mean,
weird.
arguably, it's a bug that happens to do the desired thing, but
I don't understand what it's doing.
can you try cosine instead of sine? I'm just curious how if it ends up like doing something completely different.
It did do something different.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bug, obviously. So
But the behavior is actually, yeah, I mean, the behavior is what we want, isn't it?
I mean, it's close to what we want. I mean, it's
Yes. Okay, but this proves that there is a use case.
right.
Right. I mean, in the case where this is the data, the thing is pretty goofy. Right. And the only question is when we have multiple, does it have an opacity? And then does it just stack the opacities? See what I'm saying?
I missed that part.
Well, okay. Let's say that this line has a kind of a curtain that falls down to the left. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like when you have, if I have multiple lines here, right? How am I combining?
It's using
Right. I mean, those are
opacity.
just transparent and normal transparent blending.
Yes, but I'm just saying that if we had
Actually, you can simulate that. If you do parametric plot with 2 arguments, it will do multiple coverings of some areas. Depending
okay,
how
what does
you're-
it look like? Yeah, what does it look darker?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's darker the things that have more coverings.
Yeah, so there it is. Yeah, right. So that's what we should do for the side thing, is we should just have it be, if it multi-covers, then it just gets darker. So it's like it's dropping a curtain
Oh, you
from
scared me, Stephen. I
what?
saw you start typing standard red, standard green, standard blue, and missed you changed them all to blue, and I was like, what's going on with the plot style there?
Oh, the okay, so I think that's what we should do. Allow the side case to work in all of these cases, but just if they overlap, then they stack. Make sense?
I think so.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to say that the array plot grid meshes, I'm not totally happy with
What's your version again? Just okay. The mesh style changed after that build.
I see. Okay.
So, oh, I think you wanted. Oh, that is array plot. Okay.
Well, okay, so fine. So I should look at it again. So we think we fixed whatever it was that I was already complaining about this. So
Yeah.
we think we fixed it, right?
We think so.
Okay. All right. Anything else we should talk about here?
I don't think so. I mean, the little rule plot changes are going in with the array plot change, the speed fix. So
Okay, good. So like the rule plot, taking color rules and all that kind of thing. Okay. All right. There was that discussion about high numbers of points in this point plot 3D, I think. Is that right?
you mean last night into this morning and
Yes.
early afternoon and
Yes. I
yes.
haven't looked at the latest in that thread.
I mean, I've seen the picture from the latest in that thread, and it got discussed during a graphics meeting this morning.
Okay, by the way, Ian on the live stream says in ground engineering, you typically plot data against depth or elevation, and you often want to fill horizontally to the axis or between two data sets, just like existing filling, but horizontally instead of vertically. That's tricky because our syntax for filling between two curves.
Right. You would need, either an extra thing in the list, spec for that, or maybe switch it to an association
Let's
form.
just solve going to the axis, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And if you can think about what it would take to also fill between curves horizontally, but I don't think we can fill between curves vertically either. And if we have a list line plot,
we can.
how? If I do this case here,
Look
right?
at the filling spec.
Okay, take out your plot style just for
Look at
good
the
measure.
look at the filling.
And filling goes to list 1 goes to list 2.
I see. So the issue is, how would we do that leftwardly rather than vertically?
Not clear.
Right? Well, I know. So we should think about it. And so this syntax has the possibility of doing 2 comma. Does it have a thing where we say red or something there?
Yep. And red can even be a list like red blue.
Depending on which way around they are.
Depending on which one's on top. Yeah.
Yeah, which one's above the other or below the other.
Well, I kind of think that we should allow some kind of left or something there as well. Can you think about it? See whether we can come up with a syntax. Seems useful. We might as well do it.
Right.
Okay, but the voxel thing we don't have to worry about right now. It's getting resolved in that thread. Is that correct?
I mean, Jeff has a solution. So, I mean, the discussion, raised a thing, or reminded Roger and I of a thing that, we've considered in the past of
So
we
the thing,
have like histogram and histogram 3D,
but
and
those,
density histogram, but you could do like a density histogram 3D that takes triples instead of tuples and basically does an array plot 3D image 3D type of
we basically
thing.
only support univariate to bivariate distributions at this point. And so this will be
Well, our
trivariate.
current histogram 3D is just on a base space, correct?
Yeah.
Right. It's
I mean,
height above a plane.
it uses geometric encoding, right? So the Z level is the intensity.
Count,
Yeah.
Right, as opposed to having the intensity be the intensity of a region in 3D. So in other words,
Yes.
if you give histogram,
So we have technology like density plot 3D and the slice plots, like slice contour plot, slice density plot, which are things that plot and contour plot 3D that work on trivariate data, if you like.
uh-huh. Yeah, right. So the question is histogram 3D given trivariate data should probably do this thing where it's a cloud that is either wispy or dense.
Yeah.
That is an interesting idea. I mean, I think we'd considered having a separate function, but
Yeah,
you might be able to
we
tell
don't.
from the form of the data.
Yeah, but the control and
Yeah.
there's going to be problems.
I mean, the options may be,
Yeah, it's just
substantially
not the wrong.
different.
Yeah, it's not the
Well,
same.
what would it be
options.
called? It's like density plot 3D.
So we have
except it's
we have density plot 3D, right? And list density plot 3D. And
Mhm.
we have
Density
Density
histogram, which
histogram.
is like
Right.
histogram 3D, but the array
using
of colored rectangles.
exactly
which one?
Density histogram?
like that. And there's
Oh,
a
so this one
geoversion.
should be density histogram 3D, shouldn't it?
Right.
Yeah, makes sense. And it will have different.
I mean,
kinds
it's
of-
always been on a sort of a maybe list for us. It's like, yeah, when we have time, we should do this. But I didn't think that the need had emerged yet. So, but maybe it
I
has
think it'd
now.
be nice to have. I think it would be nice to have. Especially if it can be done nice and efficiently.
Mhm.
Okay. At some point, and I hope in a 15:1 time scale, well, we need to be talking about zoomable plots. Right? Like zoomable plot
Right,
or list
pan
plot.
and zoom and
Yes, but we don't have
Yes.
to get pan and zoom. We just have to get zoomable plots. We need some UX for that. And we need to just understand what it takes to have the plot be dynamic. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
So we have it somewhere, like interactive trading chart does, it zooms the time axis.
Right.
For instance.
Yes, but that's exactly. So let's just mainstream that. Sander is commenting. What did Sander do here? Let's see what happens if we take the default case. Oh, this has, I see. Sander's point is that this has actual, it shouldn't be tiles. It should be just a continuous. This has the edge form being the same as the internal color. I mean, this is a mesh. It's a question of whether there's a mesh here. And I don't understand why there's a mesh in this case. I wouldn't have thought there should be.
it's a very
Making
faint
sense.
mesh, at least over zoom. I wonder if
It is a faint mesh, but it's still a mesh, and I don't know why we have it.
Well, sometimes you
Right.
want it, there's smooth density histogram, which doesn't have it. It uses a
I
different.
understand, but I think it's sometimes useful and sometimes not. But I mean, just like mesh for everything else,
Well,
you can switch it on or off.
right.
Let's look at that. I think it's a good idea to switch it off in the case where it gets big. In the case where it's small, we might still want to mesh.
Right.
It's like our other mesh stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, we it should work like array plot.
If we'll take a look at
Okay.
that, that's a completely reasonable thing.
Yep.
So,
Okay. Anything else, guys?
I don't think so.
Excellent. All right.
Enjoy your
See
exotic
y'all.
location.
It's not very exotic. It's a car parking lot, whatever. It's just I wasn't at a place
No,
where
you got my hopes up when you said it. 'Cause
no,
I think you described it as
It's not that
exotic,
exotic. It's not
at
that
the beginning of
exotic.
the meeting.
Yes, I said exotic only relative to normally I'm, at my desk type thing. Okay. All right. Talk to you all soon.
Okay,
Okay,
then.
bye.
Bye.